Returning from the kitchen, Marcus presented a platter of colorful tapas, arranged like a work of art. The shrimp glistened with olive oil and parsley, the peppers oozed with savory fillings, and the jamon was sliced to a translucent thinness. Marcus explained that this sampling of Spanish small plates was one of his favorite ways to start a meal, highlighting the simple yet bold flavors and the perfect interplay of textures. With skepticism, Xylo speared a shrimp and took a bite. To his surprise, his eyes widened, and he emitted a hum of surprise. He begrudgingly admitted that the sweetness of the shellfish contrasted nicely with the sharp garlic and herbs, acknowledging that not all human food was completely unpalatable. The night of the dinner arrived, and Marcus was a bundle of nerves. He had spent the entire day in the kitchen, obsessing over every detail. The restaurant was meticulously prepared, with gleaming silverware, pressed napkins, and wine elegantly breathing on the counter. Marcus's sous chefs were busy adding the final touches to each dish, ensuring perfection. At exactly 8 o'clock, Xylo walked through the front door, his purple scales shimmering under the lights. Suspicion flickered in his eyes as he took in the surroundings, and he couldn't help but comment on Marcus's stained white apron. As the meal progressed, Xylo's skepticism gradually transformed into reluctant enjoyment. He was won over by the velvety smoothness of the foie gras, the creamy perfection of the risotto, and the delightful crunch of the roasted vegetables. However, it was the dessert trio that finally sealed the deal. Xylo couldn't resist the caramelized sugar crust of the crème brûlée, and the rich chocolate lava cake perfectly balanced by the refreshing tartness of the passion fruit sorbet. He expressed his admiration for the interplay of sweet, salty, and savory notes, admitting that he had never experienced such a combination before. Upon arriving on Earth as an ambassador of galactic culinary culture, the renowned Kellyan chef Xylo was unimpressed with the food he encountered. He openly mocked the so-called pizza and deemed it revolting, barely qualifying as food. Xylo's contemptuous remarks were directed at the stunned reporters who were present. Despite his high reputation in the culinary world, having won the prestigious Nebula Cluster Chef's Challenge 3 times in a row, Xylo found himself disgusted by the taste of Earth's cuisine. He expressed his disappointment by stating that he wouldn't even feed it to a lowly Zorak slug. Marcus, a passionate chef, was infuriated by Xylo's disdainful behavior. Determined to prove the alien wrong, Marcus decided to invite Ambassador Xylo to his restaurant, Supernova, for a private tasting. He was confident that he could showcase the delicious and refined nature of human cooking. Marcus wasted no time and reached out to Xylo's public relations team, expressing his desire to challenge the ambassador's preconceived notions about human cuisine. He poured his heart and soul into planning the perfect menu for the occasion, intending to impress the picky alien with the incredible diversity and creativity of Earth's culinary traditions. With a triumphant grin, Marcus leaned back in his chair and challenged Xylo, asking if he still considered human cuisine primitive slop. Xylo dabbed the corners of his mouth with a silk napkin, his expression inscrutable. He carefully set down his spoon and fixed Marcus with a penetrating stare. While conceding that Marcus's dishes displayed a glimmer of potential, Xylo stood by his initial assessment of human cuisine. Marcus forced a smile and assured Xylo that the private tasting would be worth the cancellation of his ion spa treatment. He led the ambassador to a corner table, which was beautifully set with fine china and flickering candles. Xylo settled into his seat, still emitting an air of superiority. He commented on the modesty of Marcus's establishment, comparing it to the fine restaurants on his planet that were constructed from pure Krellan crystal. Marcus brushed off the slight and excused himself to check on the first course. Xylo's arrogant attitude and mocking words quickly spread across the human internet, causing outrage among people who cherished their iconic dishes such as pizza, tacos, and sushi. Many comments criticized the alien's audacity to insult Earth's most beloved foods. Leaders became concerned that this scandal could jeopardize the budding peace between humans and the Galactic Council, fearing that Xylo's denouncement of human cuisine could set diplomacy back by decades. Time was running out, and there was a pressing need to change the haughty chef's mind in order to salvage humanity's reputation. The competition was arranged with lightning speed. Representatives from the Galactic Council provided a gleaming arena outfitted with state-of-the-art cooking equipment. 3 esteemed alien food critics were selected as judges: a Zorks with an encyclopedic knowledge of flavor profiles, a Bixen with a famously sensitive palate, and a Quan with centuries of culinary experience. Media crews from across the galaxy descended on the arena, broadcasting the event live to countless worlds. Xylo moved with fluid grace at his station, his claws ablur as he chopped and stirred. The cameras caught him seasoning what looked like a glistening cut of lavender meat, no doubt some prized delicacy from his home world. As Marcus stepped onto the sleek chrome stage, a surge of nerves washed over him. The glare of hovering camera drones nearly blinded him. On the opposite counter, Xylo stood, looking utterly unruffled in his shimmering chef's regalia. A hush fell over the stadium as the rules were announced. Each chef would have 1 hour to prepare a single dish highlighting ingredients from their native planet. They were free to use any techniques or flavor combinations they liked. The judges would evaluate the dishes based on taste, presentation, and creativity. A fire gong rang out, signaling the end of the cooking time. Marcus stepped back from his station, breathing hard. All he could do now was wait for the verdict. The 3 judges approached with inscrutable expressions, sampling each dish with the gravity of heads of state negotiating a peace treaty. Marcus held his breath as they tasted his risotto, watching their faces for any flicker of emotion. Zio's eyes glimmered with a hint of amusement. He responded, "Bold words, Chef Marcus. But I believe this matter calls for more than just a private tasting." Leaning forward, he steepled his clawed fingers under his chin. "I propose a challenge, a cooking competition judged by a panel of neutral parties. You and I will each prepare a dish using ingredients from our respective home worlds. If your creation surpasses mine, I'll publicly acknowledge the worth of human cuisine. But if you lose..." He let the implication hang in the air. Across the arena, Zio was putting the final touches on his own creation, an artfully coiled tentacle in a shimmering magenta sauce, garnished with bioluminescent flowers. Marcus forced himself to tune out the hubbub and focus on his own preparation. He started by sautéing shallots and garlic in a pan of sizzling truffle oil, releasing a mouth-watering aroma. Next, he added the abora rice and slowly began ladling in rich chicken stock, stirring constantly to create the perfect creamy texture. As the risotto simmered, he turned his attention to the scallops. He carefully patted each medallion dry before giving them a light dusting of Zioxyate. Marcus spooned the risotto into a sleek white bowl and nestled the scallops on top. He finished the dish with a flourish of shaved black truffles and a final sprinkle of Zox, its violet crystal sparkling under the stage lights. The arena erupted in cheers as Marcus sagged with relief. He had done it, he had proven to the galaxy that human food could hold its own against the most renowned dishes in the cosmos. As the applause washed over him, Marcus caught Zio's eye across the stage. The Kellyan chef raised one clawed hand in a gesture of salute, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Marcus grinned back, feeling a rush of exhilaration. He knew this was only the beginning. As the starting gun blared, Marcus sprang into action. He had agonized over his choice of dish for days, trying to think of a way to meld human and Kellyan culinary traditions. In the end, he settled on a saffron risotto topped with seared scallops and shaved truffles, finished with a dusting of pulverized Zox, a coveted Kell spice with a tangy electric taste. Marcus felt a swell of pride in his chest, but he knew the real test would be Zio's reaction. He turned to the Kellyan chef, who was staring down at the risotto with an unreadable expression. For a long moment, Zio said nothing. The arena was so silent, you could hear a pin drop. Then, slowly, he picked up his spoon and took a single bite of the dish. His eyes widened almost imperceptibly. In the beginning, there existed an abundance of alien species, each with their own unique culinary traditions. Marcus, an adventurous chef, was eager to explore and experience these diverse cuisines one dish at a time. As the timer started, Marcus immediately sprang into action with practiced precision. His hands moved swiftly, almost blurring, as he expertly chopped, stirred, and seasoned. The saffron risotto bubbled away on the stove, while the scallops were seared to perfection. Meanwhile, Zilo looked as if he had swallowed a lemon. He glared at Marcus, his eyes narrowed to slits. "This proves nothing," he spat. "One lucky dish does not make up for centuries of culinary inferiority." However, even as he spoke, it was clear that his words rang hollow. The judges had spoken, and the galaxy had witnessed the truth: human cuisine was a force to be reckoned with. As the dust settled on the galactic cooking competition, Zilo found himself at a loss for words. He stared down at the remains of his rubbery and unappetizing tentacle dish, feeling a deep sense of shame wash over him. The human chef Marcus had thoroughly trounced him in front of the entire universe. There was no denying it anymore, he had been wrong about human cuisine. In conclusion, Marcus's triumph in the galactic cooking competition had far-reaching implications. It shattered stereotypes and showcased the beauty of diversity in culinary traditions. Through his skill and determination, Marcus had proven that human cuisine was not only on par with the best in the galaxy but also had the potential to surpass expectations. As the world watched, Marcus embarked on a new chapter in his culinary journey, eager to continue pushing boundaries and creating culinary masterpieces that would leave a lasting impact on the universe. Marcus felt a rush of pride at their words. He glanced over at the human audience, who were on their feet cheering and chanting his name. "The winner of this competition is clear," announced the Zork's judge. Chef Marcus and his fusion risotto have proven that human cuisine can hold its own against the best in the galaxy. The cheers from the human audience were deafening, and Marcus couldn't help but grin from ear to ear, basking in the glow of his victory. As the cameras flashed and the audience cheered, Marcus knew that this was just the beginning. He had proven himself on the galactic stage, and now the whole universe would be watching to see what he did next. But for now, he was content to savor the moment. He had shown the galaxy what humanity was capable of, one dish at a time, and he couldn't wait to see what other culinary adventures the future held. Once again, the crowd erupted in cheers. Marcus found himself surrounded by well-wishers and admirers. Over the next few days, his face was plastered across every news outlet in the galaxy. He was hailed as a hero, a shining example of the best that humanity had to offer. But Marcus knew that his victory was about more than just personal glory. He saw it as an opportunity to bring people together through the universal language of food. Xylo claimed to have everything under control, but it was evident that he didn't. As the minutes ticked by, Xylo grew increasingly frantic. His tentacle dish, which had initially seemed promising, was turning into a disaster before his very eyes. The sauce became lumpy and curdled, while the tentacles turned rubbery and tough. Marcus worked with a focused intensity that clearly indicated he was in his element. On the other hand, Xylo seemed completely out of his depth. He struggled with the unfamiliar ingredients, his claws struggling to grip the delicate herbs and spices. The Kellen cooking equipment seemed to confound him, and he cursed under his breath as he attempted to adjust the settings. Unable to resist a little jab, Ambassador Marcus called out to Xylo, but was met with a venomous glare. Xylo glanced over at Marcus, who was surrounded by a throng of cheering fans and flashing cameras. The human was grinning from ear to ear, basking in the glow of his well-deserved victory. Xylo couldn't help but feel a grudging sense of respect for his rival. Marcus had proven himself to be a true master of his craft, able to create something incredible even with unfamiliar ingredients. To celebrate their success and the limitless potential of their culinary adventures, Xylo and Marcus raised their glasses and toasted to a future filled with endless possibilities. They were proud of what they had created, a place where people could come together, celebrate their differences, and embrace the beauty of cultural diversity. With their former rivalry behind them, Xylo and Marcus poured their hearts and souls into their new venture. They spent countless hours in the kitchen, experimenting with new recipes and perfecting their craft. They scoured the galaxy for the finest ingredients, bringing back exotic spices and rare delicacies to incorporate into their dishes. Finally, the day of the grand opening arrived, and the restaurant was packed with eager customers from all walks of life. Humans and aliens alike lined up around the block, excited to sample the fusion cuisine that had captivated the entire galaxy. Inside, the atmosphere was electric, with diners of all shapes and sizes coming together to share in their love for food. In conclusion, this story highlights the transformative power of food and the importance of embracing and appreciating different cultures. It emphasizes the idea that when individuals open their minds and hearts to new experiences, they can create something extraordinary and bring people together in harmony. As the night progressed and the plates kept coming, Xylo and Marcus took a moment to reflect. Marcus expressed his disbelief that a cooking competition had led to such a remarkable endeavor, but he was grateful for the turn of events. Xylo nodded, a rare smile gracing his face, and agreed with Marcus. Together, they had shown the galaxy that anything was possible when one opened their mind and heart to new experiences. As Xylo continued his culinary adventures, he reached a point of realization back on Earth. He knew that he could no longer dismiss other cultures and cuisines out of hand, and so he approached Chef Marcus with an idea. Xylo proposed opening a restaurant together, where they could showcase the best of both human and Kellian cuisine side by side. Marcus enthusiastically embraced the idea, recognizing the opportunity to create a menu that celebrated the unique flavors and techniques of both their worlds. This collaboration would serve as a testament to the power of cultural exchange and collaboration. The story revolves around a man named Xylo who became passionate about fostering understanding and appreciation between different cultures. He embraced his newfound role as a culinary ambassador and embarked on a journey to alien worlds, where he hosted cooking demonstrations and shared his knowledge with eager students. Along the way, he collaborated with chefs from various parts of the galaxy, learning new techniques and ingredients that he could incorporate into his own dishes. Everywhere he went, Xylo spread a message of unity and respect, using food as a powerful tool to break down prejudices.